Okay, so the question is what do you do when you have, whether it's the husband or the wife, and one of them seems to be somewhat apathetic? And this is
Yep.
from the beginning of the presentation, correct?
Correct.
So I'll give you the number one advice I like to dispense to salespeople. Your job is to affect people and not to be affected by them. And to the degree that you can implement that throughout your entire life will be how successful you are. So every day things happen and we have challenges, and how we respond is the only thing we can really control. So that's in every aspect of your life. And we're all human, and many things affect us, and many things on your, if you don't get enough sleep, if you're tired, if you're hungry, if you have 50 bad things go on in one day, you can get down, and your ability to rebound and to shake yourself out of it and stop the pity party will be how successful you are. So when you go into a home, if you let those people affect you because they're not giving you the feedback that you think you want, and that has a massive effect on your attitude and your perception of what's going on, it'll ultimately hurt your selling process. So I can think back of many selling situations where the people don't react like you'd want them to, and either that causes you to be less enthusiastic, defeated, and really not get the response you want. It changes your performance. And I experience that doing these calls. I experience that speaking to audiences. I experience that when we're selling products to water treatment dealers. And every selling situation I've ever been in, the one thing I've found is that just because an audience doesn't respond like you would like doesn't mean that they're not learning from your information. You never know the effect you're going to have. And so when you're in the home, I think it's important to be aware that one of the two of them aren't responding the way you want, but that doesn't mean they're not listening, and it doesn't mean they don't care. I remember selling RainSoft systems to people that I didn't think they had a shred of interest, and then when you finished, they were like, okay, yeah, let's do this, and they still didn't have any enthusiasm, and they still didn't seem to be paying attention, and you thought for sure the deal would cancel, and they turned out to be great customers. It's just their personality. And in fact, if you look at the average selling rate for most salespeople in every industry is 25%. And the reason it's 25% is because 25% of the people that you're talking to will be just like you. And if you go through a bunch of selling seminars and classes and books, and they divide people up into 4 quadrants and different kinds of people, but basically we all like to sell people that are like us. And the key to becoming massively successful in sales is to become a chameleon by being able to sell anybody you come into contact with. And that starts with the idea of not being affected by their personality. So if they're acting uninterested, you just do your presentation, try your best to get them involved, but don't go over the thing. But most importantly, never let them see that you're even remotely affected by their actions. Does that make a shred of sense? Can you draw anything from that long-winded explanation?
No, that was very helpful. I'm envisioning the scenario and how I'll be able to pivot for the next opportunity.
So here's what I look at it as. I always thought I was a movie, not a play. What does that mean? Well, if you go see a movie and the audience is throwing things at the screen and booing, now that may vastly diminish your enjoyment of the movie, but does it have any effect on the acting?
No.
Of course not, right? It doesn't, because it's already been filmed. So if you go to a play, it would have an effect. So as a speaker, I go out and, I prefer to talk to an audience that laughs, that is into what I'm saying, that is active and everything else. So that's not always the case. And so I have to stay on my game mentally and just perform to the best of my ability and to let the audience affect me at a very, very minimal level. And again, we're all human. On the flip side of that, there are ways to get people involved, and it depends on the magnitude of their, let's say, adverse behavior. So if the guy is just being a complete dickhead, you have to take a different strategy. But a lot of times people do stuff just to see if they can affect you and get to you, and that's just part of their fun. So something I always like to think of, imagine in the same scenario, who was just telling me about this? I didn't get your name.
Dwayne.
Dwayne. So Dwayne, imagine this. Imagine that you were in the same scenario. Tell me what happened exactly with the guy. What did he say, Dwayne?
So throughout the whole presentation, his arms were folded, and I was always coaxing him, to follow the wife for the hand washing demonstration. He was always had a negative comment on everything that we were doing. And
like what? Tell me, for example. Give me an example of his negative comment. Let's talk about the hand wash. So I think the hand wash is one of the most critical parts of the presentation because you got to get past "I hate soft water" if you ever hear that.
Right. So for him, he was, and that was exactly what he was saying. I don't know about this feeling of it feeling like it's still on me. I get that this is not the soap that is rinsed off, but it just feels different than what I'm used to. And
you respond with, this is a good one, because if you can't overcome this, you're dead in the water. So I have some really good strategies on this. I want to hear what you said.
Okay. So for me, the way I pivoted to that is asking him questions on what is it about it not feeling silky smooth that he did not enjoy. And his response to that was, it's just different, don't like it. So then I asked, do you use cream at all on your skin? He said no. And then I asked the wife, then I moved to the wife, I said, do you use cream on your skin? She said, yep, I love creams, I love the feel of this. And then I asked her to tell her husband, tell him, how does this make you, because now I'm trying to bat them against each other. So I was asking her to explain why she enjoys having that silky smooth feeling all over her skin to him. And, they had their conversation, and he was like, I get that she loves this, but I'm just saying it's different.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a critical learning point for everybody. If you were that guy and you said that to him, so you say, what is it you don't like about that silky feeling?
Right.
What can he possibly say? What are the possible answers? And what are you being? You're being a salesperson. You're being a salesperson trying to convince him of something while meanwhile asking him to reinforce the negative. This is where salespeople consistently in every industry I train in lose sales. And on the surface, Dwayne, and I'm not picking on you, you understand that, right? I'm trying to give you a breakthrough that'll change your life forever. So I hope you take it this way. When you ask questions like that, which on the surface, if somebody new is going, oh, well, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good way to handle it, right? But break it down from a human communication standpoint. What can I possibly answer? So I tell you, I don't like Brussels sprouts. Well, what is it you don't like about Brussels sprouts? What's your answer, Dwayne? I don't like Brussels sprouts. Tell me something you don't like.
I don't like it. Yeah.
What?
I don't like this. All I can say is I don't like the taste. It becomes rhetorical. Yeah.
So back to keep it more pointed. What are the possible answers he can possibly tell you when you say what is it you don't like about that?
Nothing really. I haven't given.
Is there any possible answer that's going to help your cause?
Nothing.
And you lost this, and I'm guessing you didn't get the sale.
Correct.
And you lost it right then. You should have just packed your stuff up and gone home because you were dead in the water. You hung yourself.
Right.
And I'm going to give you the secret to doing this because it's so freaking simple. And I'm going to tell you why I didn't ever have a problem with this when I was selling RainSoft. Because I checked into a hotel in Des Moines, Iowa called Frontierland Hotel, and I was selling advertising. I was supposed to be there for 5 days. I go and I take the shower, my first shower in the morning after checking in, and they had a bar of Ivory soap in there, and they had soft water. I didn't know what soft water was, and I freaking hated it. I was like, what the hell? I can't get the soap off my skin. I thought it was the dial. I checked out of the hotel. That's a true story. Checked out of the hotel. Complained at the front desk. They had no explanation. So I checked out. It wasn't for the following year, until the following year, when I went to work for RainSoft, and I had the aha moment, and I said, holy cow, that was soft water. And that was the first time I'd ever showered in soft water. And I hated it because I didn't know what it was. So from that point on, when somebody would say that, I'd go, oh my God, I felt the exact same way. I hated this water. Have you used soft water before, Dwayne?
Yes.
God, I actually checked out of a hotel before I started working for RainSoft. I didn't even know what it was. I thought I couldn't get the soap off my skin. I was disgusted. Matter of fact, after I got my RainSoft system, it took me a week to get used to it. And then you know what happened, Dwayne?
What?
I started realizing what was happening. I started realizing that what I hated was that I felt like I couldn't get the soap off, and I hated that slippery feeling. And now I can't stand to be without it. I just can't stand to be without it because now I realize it's the greatest feeling in the world, and I look for hotels to have good water. It's funny, but the interesting thing is probably 70% of my customers tell me the same thing. Why would you not hate soft water if you think the soap isn't coming off your skin? Why would you not hate it? Who the heck wants to have soap on your skin? Can you imagine, Dwayne, purposely putting soap on your skin?
Right.
Like, who would want that, right? And yet, Dwayne, you know what I figured out and all my other customers? The exact same thing we hated is exactly what we were living with. And that's why I ask you to smell the back of your hand. Because if it doesn't smell like soap, guess what? There's no soap on it. And if you smell the back of your right hand, it smells like soap. And when the soap is gone, the soap is gone. And yet it doesn't smell like soap. So when you get out of the shower and you smell like dials because the dial's on your skin. And I can explain why. It took me forever to get this. And then once you get it, you're never going to want to live without it. It's the most remarkable change in my attitude I've ever had in my life. And I'm not the only one. This is what I hear in almost every home I go into, which is why I do this presentation, because I don't want you to cheat yourself out of the greatest feeling in the world the same way I did to myself and the same way others have done. Once you get this, you're going to love it. And you're exactly like everyone else because it's only natural. It's the same thing. If you smell Tide in your sheets, guess what, Dwayne? It's in your sheets. And it all comes down to this. Your water's exhausted. It does not have the ability to dissolve soap. Soap scum is the same stuff. Soap scum is undissolved soap. It sticks to your shower doors. It sticks to your skin. It sticks to your towels. It sticks to your dishes. Do you see a difference in how that would change an attitude completely?
Yeah, I do.
Now instead of trying to sell him on something, you're agreeing with him. You're empathizing with them. Selling is authentic communication using empathetic listening and not being a dickhead salesperson.
Right.
And what we come off as when we have and try to trap people is we come off as being dickheads when we didn't even listen to what he was saying. And then we go further and we reinforce the objection. See, we do that during the close. I want to think about it. Oh, geez, Mr. Jones, what is it you want to think about? Now I'm forced to lie. I don't even know what I want to think about. But I have to think of something. And then I'm going to dig in. And then you're going to be dead in the water.
While you're on that subject, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Let me interrupt you. How would you respond if someone says to you, I feel as if I'm being pressured. Do I have to make this decision today? How would you respond?
Yeah, look, I'm so sorry. Don't mistake my enthusiasm for pressure. Wow. No, I had zero intention of ever pressuring you. I get fired if I use high pressure. So let me just pack up my stuff and go. But do you have to make a decision today? Of course not. I don't have a gun. You can do whatever you want. Can I tell you something off the record? And I mean this sincerely. If you ever had Rain Soft Water, and you would absolutely love it. And sometimes I let my enthusiasm of knowing of how much I'm going to improve your life, maybe it comes off as high pressure. I mean, I've had a couple of my customers tell me that they felt like I was a little high pressure, but they went ahead and had good water, and now they thanked me for I call it exuberance. I hate to think of it as pressure. I can tell you that if you had this water in your house, and even if I did use high pressure and I made you get it, you'd thank me down the road. I can tell you that. I can tell you that if you had Rain Soft Water in your house, you would absolutely love it. And I hope one day you get it. I sincerely do. Because if you did, you would love it. You would never go back to having bad water in your house. It's funny, the air conditioner in our building went out yesterday, and it was 96 degrees outside. It was pretty hot and humid, and you just realize how much you miss your air conditioner. You realize what a convenience it is to be able to just turn on the knob and hit the little button on the thermostat and have it go down to a comfortable temperature. And a lot of people, when the air conditioner goes out, they can't work. It becomes a crisis. And quite frankly, that's the way most people feel about their water conditioner.
Very good.
I mean, we had to have somebody come out yesterday, urgent. I mean, it was almost 80 degrees in the office. Holy cow. It's funny, you can work outside, you can lay out at the pool when it's that hot, but you can't work inside. So we're so used to conditioned air that we feel like we can't live without it. But I grew up, I didn't have an air conditioner in my house till I was 9 years old.
So
I can tell you I'd rather have my air conditioner go out than my water conditioner. The air conditioner goes out and I still have good water, I can take a cold shower.
So can I ask, so after you've done, and by the way, I like your voice inflection and how you responded to that particular comment. So after you responded the way you did, would you still press for an order, to ask for the order again?
Absolutely. I never not press for an order because I believe I'm going to change and improve their life dramatically, and if I walk out the house, I'm going to do nothing, and that's to their detriment. So I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help them understand why good water is an absolute necessity. And the way I would come back and ask for the order would be to say, look, Joe, Sharon, if you were to get this in your home, let me ask you this. If I called the guys in, they're out in your driveway right now. No, I'm kidding. They're not. But if they were,
yeah.
And I just said, you know what? You're my 1,000th presentation this year. You win a free Rain Soft. And I said, congratulations. Would you let me put the system in?
Of course.
Why would you even want it?
For all the things you've articulated.
I mean, why would you want it? What would you want most? Let me ask you this. What would you look most forward to? I put the system in, we install it, you wake up, and now you have RainSoft treated water, the best water you could ever hope for, running throughout your house, and it's time to do the laundry, and you only have to put in a little eighth of a cup of laundry soap, and your clothes come out clean and they don't smell like Tide, and you're not being part of the problem, you're being part of the solution. You don't need to use fabric softener, and your towels come out soft. And you know for the first time when you get out of the shower, your skin is soft and smooth and silky all over. You don't smell like the soap that you used. You've got the shower cleaned, and now you don't have to worry about cleaning it near as often. Your towels and your sheets and your face cloths and your pillowcases don't have acids and chemicals and detergents in them. Your dishes have been washed clean. Your water tastes better. What do you love most out of all of those things? What would you just kill to have?
Everything you said.
What would you look most forward to? Because I know one thing you would not look forward to is ever having this water in your home again once you had good water in your house.
Look forward for peace of mind.
Well, then there's always the peace of mind. What if this water really is a problem? What if drinking bad water for 20 years, in the next 20 years, is going to cause somebody some kind of problem? Who knows? Who knows what will happen? Who knows what will be in the water? The only defense, and what drove me insane, is when I really put two and two together, and I said, when that water leaves the city, I have no idea what's in it. They've dumped chlorine in it. I don't see any cats, dogs, or logs or rocks coming through my pipes, so that's been taken out. I unscrew my little filter at the end of my faucet, and I see little rocks and debris, so that's my last line of defense between me and water, is that. And I realize I'm taking for granted the most important substance I can put in my body next to air. I have to take for granted, and there's no reason to do it. I don't know what's going to be in the water, the next boil alert, the next lead situation. I have no idea. Neither does anybody else. So my last line of defense between me and this water is a little screen at the end of my faucet that's clogged up with little rocks and pebbles, and I got to think I'm getting good water. And then I look at this precip test, and I go, wow, there's a lot of crap floating around in my water. So, yeah, for me, I think the thing I love most about the fact that my family's protected is that my family's protected. Sure, I love all the benefits. I like shaving in good water. I don't like shaving at all, but I can tell you shaving in good water is way nicer than shaving in hard water. I do know that my razor blades last a lot longer, and I don't know why, but it's a pet peeve of mine to spend all that money on a razor blade, have it only last like 3 or 4 days. I can go 3 weeks with good water in my razor blades now. I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I don't ever want to live without RainSoft water in my house. I think I'll live longer with it in my house. So if you were to do this, obviously you didn't win a contest, so if you were to do this, how would you pay for it? Because I look at this similar to your cable bill. Before we had cable TV and high-speed Wi-Fi, we had dial-up, and before that we had nothing. We didn't have Wi-Fi. And before, when I was growing up, we had an antenna and 3 channels, and then we had cable TV, and it was like $12 or $13 a month. And now my cable bill with my Wi-Fi is $187 a month. Also, I can watch a multitude of channels, and quite frankly, I spend more time looking for something to watch than I actually do watching something. And I can tell you this, I don't know about you, but I do know this for a fact. I could live without my cable TV, and if somebody would have come to me and said cable TV is going to cost you $20,000 to have installed in your house, and I'm going to put it on a contract, oh, and by the way, that contract's never going to be paid off, oh, and by the way, your payments are probably going to go up every year or two, I wouldn't have cable TV in my house. And yet we all spend more than that. The average family in Canada right now is going to spend $24,000 on cable TV and Wi-Fi over the next 10 years. And almost everybody I talk to has cable TV and high-speed Wi-Fi, and they're spending a lot of money for it. and it's never going to be paid off. Well, guess what? The good news about cable water, it does get paid off. Number 2, cable TV doesn't save me a dime. Just wastes my life. Good water saves my life. Number 3, actually saves me money. Number 4, I take my anyway dollars and I use my anyway dollars. Those are dollars I was going to spend anyway, and I get good water, better results, because I know one thing, Tide may get my sheets clean, but it doesn't do anything to make my water taste better. Doesn't make my skin softer. I don't think dumping Tide down the drain is helping the problem, so I can be part of the problem part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And I think that's the way most of my RainSoft customers feel. Because when you analyze this pound for pound, dollar for dollar, this is the single best investment you could ever make in your family, and it's the one that gets paid off, and it's the one that will pay for itself. I look at it as like before I got into RainSoft, I looked at it as I was going to the store filling a prescription each month. I had a prescription for the hard water in my wash machine. It's called Tide. I had a prescription for fabric softener overcome the Tide. I had a prescription for Cascade to clean my dishes, a prescription for Jet Dry to overcome the rinse water in the dishwasher, a prescription for scrubbing bubbles, a prescription for Lime Away, a prescription for lotions. And then I had to have surgery occasionally, have my ice maker repaired and some of my plumbing replaced. And I got tired of paying the man. And I got smart. And instead of prescriptions, I'm now on the Cure. The Cure provides more benefits, makes me happier, isn't contributing to the problem, and is less expensive than the prescriptions. Do you know anybody that's on lifetime prescription medicine that wouldn't prefer a cure to the prescription? Now you see why everybody gets RainSoft water. It's just a matter of perspective. When you guys can get these speeches down, you'll become 80% closers. Can you see how effective that would be? And do you notice the language I'm using? I'm not telling them. I'm saying how I felt, how my customers felt, how other people felt. I'm not telling them how they should feel. I'm just telling them what I found. With authentic enthusiasm and passion. I don't overcome objections. I do ask for the order. Let's just go ahead and get this for you. Let's go see where it's going to go. Make sure we can even put it in. Who has the neatest handwriting? Are we going to have any issues with your credit? Can you afford nothing down? These are all closing questions. Assume the sale. All right, what have you learned today? Is any of this good stuff?
Yeah. Of course. I have like a library of your audio recordings by now. You know, the ones from your website, from the ones that you actually done for our office. So we really, really thank your willingness to help and being there for us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and the more you sell, the better off we all are. So thanks for those kind words. I appreciate that, and we'll talk again next week. You guys make it awesome, and just remember, enthusiasm sells, create desire, and you'll always have buyers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.